Hello, and welcome to GovTech Viewpoint. My name is Teri Takai, and I'm excited to be here with you for another outstanding episode. I'm joined by HP's Todd Gustafson for another interesting and fun conversation. Now, just a reminder, each episode of GovTech Viewpoints explores one big question that's facing state and local government today. And it's about not just the technology, but also around how we're using the technology and what the opportunities of the technology are as we look forward in this really interesting time of technology. So, Todd, it's really interesting. I was talking with several CIOs as they look at this return to work. Some of them are looking for properties because their governors want them to bring people back into the office. We've seen a few local governments where people have said, no, we're not coming back. And I was just talking to a state CIO that's gone to a kind of a 3-2 for some people and a 4-1 for other individuals, but really feeling like coming back into the office has a lot of benefits. There are a lot of things you can do operationally and not be in the office, but he really felt that this collaboration, and the need for people to see each other was so critically important. So what are some of the things you're seeing out there, as in fact government, both state and local, kind of start to find their way around what's the pattern of back to work that they really want to accomplish?
So good to see you, Teri. Greetings from a little overcast Boston here. So what I would tell you is that every single state is facing this now, right? There is frankly no state or no major municipality that is not strongly debating or strongly implementing some return to the office program. That is a foregone conclusion. If you haven't experienced it yet, it's only, frankly, I think a matter of time before you do that. And every single agency has their own, or government has their own approach to this, whether it's work 2 weeks, 2 weeks off, 2 or 3 days in the office, whatever it might be. Frankly, unless you're in what I would say a situation that requires you to be in the office to utilize tools and assets, the adoption of hybrid is certainly an approach that we're going to go do for that. It's a little bit of a blessing, if you will, from COVID that we all received. I'm in a hybrid environment today, but I think we can all agree that the humanity element of engagement and collaboration in person is powerful. And so the sooner that we adopt that, embrace that, I think is important. And I think as humans, it's a necessary element of success.
Right. Well, I will tell you, Todd, another thing that I'm hearing is as we're bringing young people into the workforce, that interestingly enough, many of them don't mind and actually would like to be in the office and have some of that interaction to help them grow. But, one of the things, Todd, that I've always felt was a challenge, whether it was when we moved away from being in the office, and now that we're coming back into the office, is how do we really gauge what is the most productive environment? Because again, we want each individual to be productive, but we want the entire organization to also benefit from it. So, are you seeing anyone do some really innovative things around being able to measure, if you will? And I don't want to use measure in a negative way. It's actually about how do we get back to high-performing teams, if you will, but in this hybrid environment.
So let me answer both questions. First is, my wife and I are very fortunate to have 3 great kids, 27, 25, and 23. And you know what they want to do? They want to be back in the office because the social fabric of their engagement, they need that, right? And so for all of our listeners out there, don't be afraid to start to engage that, because you'll be surprised what the younger generation wants to achieve. And they don't want to be back in 100% of the time. They want that level of flexibility. But there is an aspect of the social engagement and it's part of their career development
Yes.
as well. So they want to achieve that. Two is that, I've been in the industry for over 30 years, Teri, and there's always change happening. There's always what I would call cool things that are happening. And right now, I have to tell you that I am so energized around this topic around hybrid work and return to the office. And the reason is that the technology that's becoming available in terms of predictive analytics and automation are now becoming incredibly powerful and available in a very, what I would say, cost-effective way. And you just mentioned, if you will, the whole idea of potentially monitoring. Actually, we think in a very different way from an approach standpoint. So how might you think about how do you manage your fleet? How do you do employee engagement? How do you think about the cost of what you're doing? And so let me give you an example. We've worked with a number of states that have a business model that is, when they acquire assets, is good, better, and best. And it will probably come to a shock to all of our listeners that everyone wants the best.
Right.
Shock, right? Not only do they want the best, but when it comes to the catalog of software that they want out there, almost all of them pick the entire catalog of software.
I might need it one time, right?
At some point in the future, I don't want to have to look for it.
Right.
However, there's a couple things that happen along with that, right? There's cost and there's efficiency that drives that. And what's interesting is that with the tools that are available in the marketplace to look at workforce experience, the tools allow you to understand that your users may determine, let's just say that you work in the finance department for the state of Massachusetts, given it's my home state. And all your users may they think, right, that they need the best. But with the tools that are out there, you can quickly determine that 80% of your utilization needs only a much lower platform. And what that will do is a lot of folks aren't thinking about just purely the savings, but I think if we shift our thinking to think about how to capture those savings in terms of what we buy and plow it back into other AI-enabled tools that'll help constituents and our colleagues in terms of doing that. Let me give you another really interesting example. Teri, let's just say for you and I'm a system administrator in my state, and you're a user. I can quickly determine the health score of your device, and understand on a scale of 1 to 100 how your overall system performance is going. Whether it's Zoom, Teams, whatever it may be, that might be one. And then I can quickly determine that you have picked 100 applications to have available to you. And we are paying for 100 licenses for that. But you have only used 20 of those in the last year.
Right.
Think about the savings that would achieve in that and the efficiency you would gain out of that. And so one of the key messages I just want to get across today is that there are a couple of unique vendors out in the marketplace that can provide some incredibly valuable tools to really drive efficiency, drive cost savings, and as importantly, your user community will embrace this because their experience will be that much more powerful and that much more efficient. I'll leave you with this, which is 50% of users never call the support desk because they don't get a good experience and they just live in frustration. What if we were able to elevate the game for everybody? I think that's the real big opportunity for a lot of our listeners out there is think about return to the office and elevating outcomes and efficiencies for our users, and our jobs will get a lot easier.
Well, I love what you're saying, Todd, because the other thing is that we always think about efficiency as meaning that people have to live with less or that they get less. And we know that that's not actually the case. If we manage differently and we think about it differently, we can actually both get efficiency, as you say, which gives us the opportunity to move and do things in a different way, but we also get better service. And the other thing that you said, which I think is really interesting, is, we talk about all the AI and the tools and the automation, but we also don't think about how they're going to help us from a technology perspective, be able to use the technology better. I know I sure don't like to call the desk Because it's not only do I get good service, but am I asking a dumb question, or is there something that I should know? And so I think it's great that you're bringing that up in terms of, how to really help. But it also, I think, brings back that question when you went to good, better, best, trying to fit the actual compute power, if you will, to what an individual needs. And I think that's something that you're focused on and you're thinking about all the time, right? Particularly as we're starting to grow and need more and more, if you will, at the end point. I'm sure that's something that as you think about it, it's a part of your equation.
Absolutely. You need AI-enabled devices. What does that look like? Are you going to do it on the edge? Are you going to do it in the cloud? Are you going to do it in hybrid environment, which most of us will likely do? What does that mean in terms of my efficiency? What does it mean in terms of my cost? There's tools out there that can give you all that analysis in a very consolidated dashboard view that can help you make really educated decisions and look at it over a continuum, right? So you can make good choice points at any given time, not in a static environment.
And it's also not just one organization by another. You really have that opportunity to look across the organization, and the Health and Human Services group might need something different from public safety, might need something different from the IT organization. So I love that perspective as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that we've been able to kind of give our listeners a different way of thinking about hybrid work, about the opportunities of hybrid work, how in fact you can manage in that environment, which is, I think, something that's been challenging, and some different ways of thinking about it. So Todd, thanks a lot for kind of bringing some things to the forefront.
It's really, if you can see it on my face, it's really, really awesome, the stuff that's out there. I encourage you to open your aperture, if you will. I think it'll really be a huge benefit to the organizations that we work with.
Outstanding. Well, Todd, thanks so much again for a fascinating conversation. And thanks to everybody listening for being a part of GovTech Viewpoints. Now be sure to subscribe to the series on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Spotify so you won't miss an episode. So Todd, I'll look forward to seeing you on our next GovTech Viewpoints, where we'll have a great conversation on another of these important topics.
Cheers.